Hey guys, it's JP, and today we are going to look at one of the best ultramarathon runners out there, Jim Walmsley. He is the current world record holder for the 50 mile, as well as breaking multiple ultra course records. He will be interesting to analyze because he doesn't quite run like the other typical ultramarathon runners. In this video, we will be taking a closer look at his running mechanics, which has helped him run a tremendous amount of miles at such an incredible pace. Now let's get into this analysis. To get a good look at his running mechanics in a side view, we will take a look at this clip. This is during the Western States 100, which is an infamous 100-mile ultramarathon that takes place on California's Sierra Nevada mountain trails. To give some context of this race, he broke the course record in 14 hours 30 minutes and 4 seconds. This averaged out to about an 8:42 min per mile pace. Actually, based on his Strava data, he's going at about a 7:05 min per mile pace, as this seems to take place during the 62nd mile of the race. This is a very good pace over this distance, especially when you take into account that this ultramarathon included an elevation gain of over 18,000 feet, a descent of over 20,000 feet, a river crossing, as well as a delay by a few minutes due to bears being on the trail. Now let's take a closer look at the way he runs. Based on this clip, you'll already notice he doesn't run like other ultramarathon runners. Usually with distances that are at least 50 miles, ultramarathoners adopt a running style that looks more like a shuffle. This is where the feet stay low to the ground with relatively short strides. You can look at Mike Wardian, an elite ultramarathon runner, for a quick example of this. In comparison, you can see that Walmsley has a form more similar to that of a marathon runner than an ultra runner. Running this way may not be as efficient as doing the ultra shuffle. However, Jim Walmsley is able to balance out efficiency and speed so he can run these ultra distances while running relatively fast times. Keep in mind that being able to maintain form like this for ultra distances requires plenty of strength and conditioning, as this requires more use of the leg muscles compared to ultra shuffling. Now let's move on to looking at his step rate. You'll notice that he runs at 160 steps per minute in this clip. For those who have been following my analysis videos on elite distance runners, this may come as a shock, as usually we see those runners maintaining at least 180 steps per minute. Keep in mind that this takes place in an ultra marathon, where runners have to travel much farther distances than the runners we have previously looked at. When people run around 180 steps per minute, the pace is usually more toward a moderate intensity pace. For ultra marathon running, you'll be running distances farther than the marathon. Running these ultra distances, like the 100 mile in this case, will require you to run at a lower intensity pace, as you'll have a lot more miles to cover. For Walmsley, this step rate is appropriate, as this is a relatively low intensity pace for him. Now let's move on to looking at specific aspects of his form during the running cycle. The first thing we'll look at is the foot landing. As you can see, he lands overall around the midfoot. Compared to landing on the forefoot and rear foot, landing this way is pretty much a common ground between the two in terms of distribution of stress on the joints. Just keep in mind, as this preference of landing can change based on pace as well as the shoes you are wearing. What I find to be more important to look at to reduce stress on the joints and improve efficiency is where the foot lands in relation to the body center of mass. As you can see here, his foot lands right in front of the body. It's not too far where it would be considered overstriding, and not too close where efficiency would be decreased. Taking a look at the shin angle, you can see that he basically maintains the foot perpendicular to the ground right during foot landing. Compared to most runners, I think Jim Walmsley does an incredible job with foot positioning. Being able to land consistently in this manner aids in efficiency, helping him run these amazing distances. Next, we'll look at the range of leg movement from when the foot lands to push off. Based on these markers, initially you may think that he doesn't have much leg movement. However, we have not looked at anyone running ultra distances before this video. For an ultra marathon runner, he actually presents with good backside movement. This indicates that he utilizes his legs more during push-off, causing increased step length, which results in improved overall speed. This is different compared to the ultra shuffle, as that style really emphasizes step rate and is more focused on efficiency. Instead, Walmsley uses a more balanced approach between speed and efficiency. This makes sense, as his goal isn't just to finish these races, but rather break some records. Now, we will look at the amount of vertical bounce he has as he runs. I placed markers to see this more clearly. Compared to other ultramarathoners, he presents with a little more spring in his step. One of the biggest reasons why has to do with his step rate. Remember that I said Jim Walmsley runs at 160 steps per minute. Now for those who adopt the ultra shuffle like we saw with Mark Wardian, the feet stay low to the ground, allowing for the person to take quicker steps. The reason why vertical bounce is affected by step rate is because usually the higher the step rate, the smaller the vertical oscillation is. With a slower step rate, this also requires Walmsley to put more power into each step as he pushes off the ground, causing that increase in vertical movement. This is why I mentioned earlier that being able to maintain form the way Jim Walmsley does for ultra distances requires strength and power training. Now we'll look at this frame to look at the trunk. He keeps a nice upright trunk which aids in core stability, minimizing energy leakage as the foot pushes off the ground. I want you guys to appreciate how good this looks. Usually when people fatigue, the trunk can start to lean forward. However, he still keeps it perfectly in line with the body. This is even more amazing if you remember that he has already run 62 miles and is still able to maintain this kind of form. Anyway, further analyzing this frame, he also presents a slight forward lean at the whole body. It is not as much as other distance runners we have seen, but whole body lean during this specific frame usually increases with relative intensity. Moving on to arm swing, specifically shoulder movement, you can see that he presents with movement indicative of someone running around a minimal to moderate intensity pace. This observation supports the other findings we have seen, as he would need to run at a lower intensity to even make it through the race. Now as we continue to look at the arms, let's transition to a front view of the body so we can see the side-to-side movement involved with arm swing. This clip from the HOKA project Carbon X gives a really good frontal view of him. You can see that he keeps his arms close to the body. He presents with a bit more rotational movement of the arms, but they don't really cross midline of the body. Let's take a moment to look at the rest of the body as he runs in this view. As he runs, he doesn't really show much signs of breakdown of form, such as shortening of stride, collapse in the knees, or much hip drop at all, which is very impressive. Anyway, looking at the head in a side view, you can see that he maintains it in pretty much a neutral position. Most of the movement that occurs is in the front view of him running, which is a side-to-side movement. This is just a sign of transferring weight from one leg to the other as each leg touches the ground. And that's it for the quick analysis on Jim Walmsley. He has been absolutely crushing it in ultramarathon running, and I'm so curious on what he will continue to do. Anyway, I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know what you thought in the comment section below. And as always, thank you for watching.